Hi, and welcome to today's community conversation, continuation of last month's talk on leadership. I think it was mostly me that got really excited when you, Danny, spoke about the different personality styles.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we need a talk about this.
Heck yes.
What we're focusing on today. With that said, if you haven't watched that episode, go watch, subscribe,
do all the things.
yes, and on that last video, you get to really see unintentionally how I picked the super correct colors to wear for that talk. Just say the different personality.
I love it. Love it. Yes.
So if you haven't watched, go watch. With that said, there is too many different variations to this personality or leadership style theme, but today we are focusing on what's called the DISC method or DISC analysis, or as it also called, at least here in Sweden. I don't know if it's as common out in the world, but categorized in 4 different colors. So now I'm going to see if I can share my super amazing slide.
Yeah.
Yes. And here I would really like to it just being the 4 squares. So all the things outside. I don't know if that would be.
Yeah, this is cool. This is perfect.
Doable, just to have the 4 squares.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have, of course, this is very categorizing and very, I don't know the words, but very boxed in. Of course, there's many variations, and if you Google, then you will find different variations. But this one, this one is what I like. So the upper left one, the red one, who the characteristics of that person is dominant, direct, decisive, doer, could be seen as demanding, like get stuff done. Moving to also outgoing, but more people oriented, is the yellow one, who is also in the disc method referred to as inspiring, or the inspiring one, who is also very interactive, influential, interesting, talks a lot, could go very different ways all at the same time. Also could be very impulsive. The going down to the bottom ones, who is more reserved and more internal.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So the green one is referred to as stable, and characteristics of that person is supportive, sincere, be sensitive, and slow. I mean, in his or her pace. Needs time to process things, needs time to process things. Going to the blue one, who is the this is such a hard English word for me.
Can I help?
Conscientious?
Yes.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes.
It is a tricky one.
Yeah. Conscientious. Yes. And characteristics of that personality is cautious, careful, calculating, and compliant. Also very, very, if you have that personality in your workplace, then give a blue person all the spreadsheets, all the facts, like read this paper, and they would be like, okay. So they're very fact oriented. Yes. Yes. So now I would like to know, Danny and Diva, if if you have thought of which trait, or which two maybe you feel more most like you.
Deepa, you want to go?
Yeah, sure.
Go for it.
Well, I'm a mix of green, blue, yellow, and a little bit of red. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and you know, especially through all this stuff, I'm so reflective on how cool it is that like Diva, similarly to what you said, like I know, you know, there's massive parts of me that fit best into yellow. But then there's also, especially even just the course of the last 2 years, just even the last 2 years, there's a lot of parts of me that also are fitting a lot more into green and blue as well. Um, and if you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have fit best in red, quite honestly, because you know, I like things a specific way. You know, I want things, you know, and I know I can do it, so like I want them a specific way, and you know, I'll just do it. I'll just do it. And there's still an element of me that is like that, but it is interesting because I think if I'm simplifying, I think I still today fit best in yellow. Um, Even just those words, interactive, influential, interesting, impulsive. I like to think I'm impulsive in a good way, but sometimes I'm just impulsive in ways where I look back and think, Danny, why you should slow down a little bit. And I get better at that. I get better at not being too impulsive, because there can be a negative to being too impulsive as well, I guess. But I feel like I fit most. Anyways, I think it's just so interesting because yeah, I think I resonate most with yellow, but I could definitely see myself in other colors as well, which makes me really proud because I know as I said, have not always been. 10 years ago, I would have identified with red. And I probably would have primarily identified with red. Through, I think about the bands I've been in, when I think about this conversation, and I was like, I'm that front person. I'm that person that's pushing and moving forward, the doer that like let's go, let's go, let's go. And there's lots of pros to that, and then I definitely experience things where like I'm really happy now that I've tapped more into green. I'm really happy now that I've tapped more into blue, and I'm really happy that I resonate with mostly yellow. So, anyways, I know in a roundabout way that doesn't really answer the question yet, but it's just so interesting because I do think I fit most into yellow, but it's just also so interesting how you can kind of lean you can lean more into one, but then also find pieces of your identity elsewhere as well, which is it's just so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
And it also depends on what you're actually doing, what you want to
Yeah.
achieve.
Yeah.
What is the goal?
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
worked with a lot of people that were very yellow, more than I am, and they drove me nuts. They just, oh God.
Are you talking about me? Do I drive you nuts?
No, you don't. There are other people that drove me nuts. But that is something that I had to learn to deal with. If you work in a group, which I have done most of the time, whatever profession I was in, that's something I had to learn.
Yeah.
To accept and to learn how to collaborate with them. And the same thing with people that are very much green leaning. If they're too slow and too sensitive, it might seem like you need to walk on eggshells, which I'm not a fan of at all. And sometimes if you're very green leaning, it seems like at least of what I've noticed is that those personality types tend to lean a lot towards be careful with me. It's your responsibility to be careful with me, which isn't fair at all.
Careful in what way?
Walking on eggshells. Like I don't. They're very easily offended. I've noticed, which might be a bit of a problem. Especially when you work on a project or actually trying to accomplish something and get something done.
Can I actually just say something to that as well, Diva? Because I'm very reflective with those things as well, and through the lens of everything that we all do together, I think it's so interesting because I find myself asking and I think this is where leadership, it is something that we also need to hold ourselves accountable to as well. Because let's just say we're doing something and like somebody disagrees with me and I'm in the green, and in my head I'm like, well, what the heck? Like what? Why? Like what? And there's two reactions I could have, and I've had both of these reactions before. I could impulsively just crap all over that person, which, not proud to say that I've been there. I've done that impulsively, and that sucks. And it's not good leadership. It's not good leadership for me to do that to somebody without having thought about it, without having like dove into, okay, Danny, why are you so passionate about this thing that somebody has disagreed with you on? Like, why does that matter to you? And why does that matter to the broader sense? And then through that lens, I think best conversation through the lens of leadership can happen. But if I impulsively just say, well, no, like that's the way to go. It's like, okay, but now that person that you're saying no to, they might completely shut down. So in the future, they don't say anything at all. They don't present any idea at all. They don't say anything at all. And is that really, our ideas right or wrong, or, either rooted in the truth or not rooted in the truth? For sure. So if we're approaching conversations through like a rational lens with like rational outcomes, cool. But like if I'm just through the lens of, say, impulsively calling you out because of my sensitivity with like something I'm super passionate about, then without like self-reflecting on, okay, Danny, why do you feel the way you do? And like talking myself through the process of like, why is this getting to you, Danny? Like, why? And I do this all the time, because I have come to recognize that it can just, especially if you're working in a group, not be effective and if you're trying to create something that's bigger than your own sense of whatever, you're trying to do, then you gotta approach leadership as well through the lens of like the internal, if we're having these conversations, reflect on, for me, myself, why am I so passionate about this? Why is this getting to me the way that it is? Like, why? And then I can, once I've figured that out, or once I've like got a bit more sense of that internally, okay, let's talk about it. I needed to take a second to just like figure out where I was at with that, and now I got it. So can let's chat. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I think it's so interesting because as I say, I've definitely been there on the two spectrums of just like through the lens of, what are you talking about? No, you like, what do you mean you disagree with me? No, I know I've been there.
How dare you?
Yeah. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're not right. You're not right.
I don't know why, but you're wrong.
I can't pinpoint it, but you're wrong. I don't care what they say. I don't care what you say. It's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and the truth is, all these four are needed in any workplace, any leadership group, like if you're a camp leader, like we've all been, you of course have your core personality that is the dominating one, but you might need to take different parts from the other three, or just be aware that there are different personality. Speaking for myself, who is now outing, if you haven't watched the leadership part 1, but I am super green. Super green. And I not only know this because I can relate to the words in the green box, but because my complete opposite, which is red, freaks me out. And because they're very, and I have had some bosses or work colleagues that are so very red, and I'm like, I'm a little scared of you.
Ina, if I ever start to lean back into the red, can you do that exact same thing? Like with the hand gesture, I'm a little scared of you. Can you do that exact same thing if I ever start to lean into the red again?
Or maybe I need to work more on my head, more decisive.
Well, sorry,
No?
Ina, can I just say this as well to shout you out? Because you, months ago, when this idea of community conversations became a conversation, you wanted to take the lead on it. So I was so excited about it. Our entire group was excited about it. And I love it because I honestly see that as you starting to step into the red, quite honestly, because you're taking more space. You're taking more of what you know is not your innate leadership style, but you're stepping into something that you want to do more of, which is cool. That's we're all on some sort of journey of growth. Nobody is like the perfect leader. Nobody. We're always growing, or at least we should be. Anyways, I just wanted to show you out because I think that is one example of you stepping into a different style, which is sweet.
Yes, and first of all, thank you. And
Of course.
yeah, and speaking of different scenarios and different, yeah, I'm sticking with scenarios. So
Yeah.
so in my kayaking leadership role, then I really need the red one, because it's like, okay group, we're gathering, we're doing this today, keep close, and if someone ventures out where they're not supposed to be, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And it feels quite nice, because I can't really say why, but it's nice to step out of your of who you are when you have your free time, when you're with friends, and that's what I'm speaking of when I say I'm super great. Of course, I'm a lot of yellow as well.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm least blue, because I really don't want and like spreadsheet and facts. I'm like,
just give them to me.
and that's why I love you, Diva. And that's why we complement each other so well, I think.
Oh, I love that.
because we have similarities, but we also have polar opposites, and it's so nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of work, which style do you see yourself using most of in your main work, Diva?
Oh,
Or if you had to choose between two?
oh God. Red, definitely. I have to be direct and decisive. And there's a lot of blue in there as well. If I have to choose two, then these two would fit in what I do at the moment. I need to be very direct. I need to be very decisive, and I need to be calculating and compliant as well. I talk to a lot of customers. They are in a tricky situation, and yeah, these are the tools that I use mostly.
Yeah, because these two are very results oriented and task focused.
Yeah.
I wanted to write that on the left side, but
yeah,
I couldn't.
It's okay.
So I'm speaking.
It's okay.
Danny, which two if you had to choose?
That's actually it's really tough to pick two, quite honestly. Because I do, in terms of work, I'm gonna pick conscientious and inspiring. As an entrepreneur, I do like every night, and I'm not like I failed math in school most years. I did really bad in math. Numbers through the educational lens were not a friend of mine. That said, there's lots of numbers in music. There's lots of numbers in my everyday life now, just making sure as an entrepreneur that I'm managing the business okay, managing my life personally and professionally, and all those things. So I've had to become more conscientious based on the life decisions and goals that I've created for myself and family and all those things. I've had to become more conscientious. Have I always been? No. And am I perfect at it? No. There's a lot of ways I still need to grow into that because I'm not that person. But I've had to become good. I crunch numbers every night because again, I feel like I have to, and I want to make sure that things are continuing to be good and grow and all those things and so I feel like conscientious for sure, and then inspiring, interactive, influential, interesting, impulsive. I feel like through, say, the work that we're doing here at Song and City, through the work that I do at Danny Lamb School of Music. I think those things fit most of what I do in or try to achieve in a music lesson beyond all the music technique and all those say like formulative technical components that I do think are super 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 important. I do try to make music accessible, make music fun, make music engaging, make music interactive, make music a good experience, because I know that for me, some of my biggest accomplishments in life have, I know, come through the support and love of my family, but some of my biggest mentors that and teachers outside of my family influence have been my music teachers, making little like suggestions or comments just through life as well that I've started to think about and then actually pursued, and they've become pillars to my life, to where I am now. And I look back on those things and I think I those teachers were inspiring. They inspired me to do different things that and it's kind of comical because my vocal teacher ever since I was 12 years old, she had mentioned going to work for this company as a motivational speaker and facilitator, and it sounded like a cool idea. And I ran home. This is several years ago now, but went home and I said, "Hey, Mom, Lisa mentioned this," and my mom said, "Daniel, I've been saying that to you for years." And I think it's also interesting because sometimes you just need to hear something from somebody else other than your parents. And it's really cool to reflect on that and think, the people that reached me the most were my music teachers. They really, really were. And they inspired me. So I think those two things, those two boxes, I really fall into most. But again, that's really hard to narrow down because like it's a fine line between I think I fit into green quite well as well most days, not all the time but most days and in most scenarios, but and yeah, blue and yellow, conscientious and inspiring, I guess.
Yes. And as you've both said, there is no really just being one or two.
Yeah.
I mean life and depending on which scenario, who you meet, you have to take this part of different sides. So what I also wanted to touch on is something that we're at as a SB&H community. We have a lot of hospital contacts. So I was really curious to talk about which box you bring forth in hospital visits, or circling back to maybe your latest hospital visit. There could be a lot. Maybe? Yeah. Danny?
Yeah.
What do you have any?
Well, I mean, knock on wood. Since my last 2 shunt revisions at 14, I haven't been to the hospital too much, other than I had a little bit of a scare. Actually, I guess this was actually one of them where I, again, as I say, I'm not necessarily like a like when my shunt broke at 14 years old. It was a month and a half before I mentioned anything to my mom or dad about the massive headache that I had. And I was trying out for the soccer team. I was auditioning for the school musical. I was doing all the things, and I knew something was wrong. And for whatever reason, I just didn't say anything, and that was just really, really stupid, or not smart of me. But fast forward from 14 years old to probably 7 or 8 years ago, I was still living at, but 7, maybe 9 years ago, still living at home, and my parents were gone, and I had a massive headache for a couple of days, and I called mom and just said, like, this is what's up, and what should I do? And our neighbor had actually just graduated from, he became a pediatric neurosurgeon. And so she said, call Blake. He's at McMaster in Hamilton. Call Blake. And so I called him, saw him, and got my CTs and MRIs, came back clear. Everything was okay. And my headache did go away, and all was okay. But it's interesting because to reflect on just like how, as a 14-year-old, I was just like not really saying it, and I don't really know what kind of place that came from or what box that would necessarily fit into in terms of like not stepping up and like saying like this is what's up. But then, fast forward several years, having a headache for a couple of days, knowing something's up, action. There's the action. Call mom, connect with the hospital, go, sweet. And then even just more recently, a lot of us understand what it is to get an IV intravenous and have an IV. And I've had my last experience with an IV was terrible. They just could not find my veins. They tried right here, couldn't find my veins like 5-6 times. Finally found it here. And that still today clearly lives inside of my brain because I went to get blood, hadn't gotten a blood test for a while, and so went to get a blood test, and the nurse, super super lovely, she pulled out this needle that just, it looked a little bigger, and I very impulsively, and I think this fits into the red box. I was just like, that's not intravenous, is it? Like, just very like, to the point where I like caught myself, and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I just have a bad experience with intravenous. And she was like, she chuckled, and she's like, no, it's just a regular needle, and I was like, okay, sorry. I knew that. I knew it must be a regular needle, but like it looked bigger, and I don't know. I just like, I got this, became a little scared. So I just kind of directly was like, that's not intravenous. Don't give me intravenous. No. I'm gonna bleed everywhere. No, stop. But it's
you went from red to green, and
yeah.
I'm kind of hearing.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, like, reflecting on that, I think, and I'm sure people within our community, specifically community of SB&H or disability, I'm sure people can relate through the sense of, especially if you have a lot of hospital visits, your experience naturally in life, whether we be talking hospital or just in general, your experiences in life start to determine or influence how you react to, say, like, if you're not getting a direct response after years and years and years or months from your doctor, it's like, yo, I need a direct response. Whereas the first time you didn't get a direct response, it's like, oh, okay. And then, like, yeah, bye. But then, like, the problem still continues to exist. So at a certain point, it becomes like, no, it's still existing. It's not okay. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. I know something's wrong. Something's wrong. So you out of needing to, you become more direct. If that makes sense. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Diva, do you have?
Well, just as Danny mentioned, I don't have that many hospital visits. That weren't needed for a very long time. There is a procedure that I undergo like 2 times a year, and through that I've learned to be very direct, very decisive, because it's my body, and I'm very medical procedure cautious. So I need to know, I sometimes demand to know what is going to be done to me step by step. Last time I was at a hospital, I interviewed the doctor, like, how long have you been working here? How long have you been doing this? What's the procedure? Because it's my body. I don't know you. Yes, you're a doctor, but from my experience, doctors don't know everything, and I need to know that you know what you're doing. If you're going to do it to me.
Yeah. As I previously mentioned, I am not a very red personality, but for the last 2.5 years, I have been in very close contact with hospital staff and undergoing surgeries, and so I have, as you've also stated, the need to be very, very direct and very, like, I don't know if I've told you this, but before my latest surgery in November, I first thought I would have a very experienced doctor doing this procedure, but turned out she couldn't be there. So a younger guy stepped into the the hospital room, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
My brain going, how long have you been a doctor, really? So for those of you that know me, for me to like look in this young doctor's eyes going, don't fuck this up, like
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
took a lot from me, but I felt like I really need him to know that this is important.
Heck yes.
Like, don't fuck this up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I totally agree. In hospital visits, there is more of a need being read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with those that they've never met you before, but they act like they know everything about you,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is insane. Because
Yeah.
just admit it that you don't.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have a totally different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as it comes to my body, I'm going to defend it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to go along with whatever if it's not explained to me what is going to be done and why and how. I don't know how many nurses and doctors I've kicked out from the room. Just because I'm a doctor or I'm a nurse, and I know better than you. At the same time, the same people don't have the first question is, why are you in a wheelchair? It's like, you have my medical records. You know why I'm here, I would hope. Why is that even a question?
Mm-hmm.
That as soon as that question comes up, that makes me suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have had the same experience.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting.
Yeah, it feel like it I mean, we're talking a lot about bed manner, and I think it's so interesting how that definitely it is a conversation for I don't care if we're talking doctors or any type of professional. Any type of professional and whatever it is you do, that bedside manner is so important. Regardless of how many years you've gone to school, regardless of how much you know, because let's face it, for as much as you know, again, whether we're talking doctors and hospitals or anything else, for as much as you know, science changes all the time as well. So there's a need to continue to learn. You know a lot, and certainly there are things in science that don't change, but you know there are also things that shift and change all the time, like anything. The only constant is change, and so it's interesting because I think that need to have a sense of humility in hospitals is also so important, especially when it comes to people and major surgeries and wanting to make sure that our community and people in our community feel a sense of who is digging into their brain, digging into their spine, digging into their back, digging, like that. That's important. It's important, and I think it's interesting because like when I say that, I don't say that as like I know a lot of great doctors. I know a lot who have great bedside manner as well. It's not like a knock at doctors. It's just a reflection of how important it is to have that even some bedside manner, and to be able to connect with that young person, that adult, that senior, whoever it is, be able to connect with them in some way to give them some sort of reassurance that they got you. You're in good hands. They got you.
Yes, because
That's it.
yes, because at the end of the day, you're working with human beings. You work with people. You're more often than not digging into this person's body and coming or even just coming close to another human being. As I work in different body therapies, the first thing, like lesson number 1, is I don't physically touch you where you don't feel comfortable being touched. And that should be like the main focus for medical staff. Most importantly, because that's what we're focusing on here. And of course different situations also, but
that can't apply when it's an emergency. It's like it's not doable.
No.
I would not like them to wait to save my life.
No.
We need consent from this person. They're passed out. Oh shit, they're going to die.
No. Of course.
I sorry, I just Divas.
Conscious.
Yeah.
Then.
What you say, Ina?
If your patient is conscious.
Diva, as you said that, I right away visualized a person with like a knife in their body running into the hospital and the doctor stopping them being like, "Oh, how do you feel? You're bleeding everywhere. How do you feel?"
For how long has this been going on?
Not a knock on doctors though. Thank you for good doctors, but just a cool conversation for things really in hospitals or in any profession. People first. and asking, as you said, Ina, asking the right questions and asking the questions that set the experience up to be comfortable and as good from the start to finish as it can be, and put confidence in the people who are on the operating table, and you know, having themselves worked on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
As always, time flies when
Yeah.
talk, guys.
Too quickly.
But to to like 1 hour conversations, I think we need to finish this. But I would really like to know, for those of you watching, what personality style are you, and do you bring out different styles in your work, or different scenarios? Do you agree with with the main characteristics in hospital visits being the red one, or do you have any other spin on things? Let us know in comments below. If you haven't subscribed, watch our other episodes, and check us out in different social medias, because we're not only on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in about a month.
Yeah.
Then I think the conversation will keep being on our bodies, and maybe then we have a guest. But tune in then, subscribe, because then you will know when that episode is out.
Heck yes.
Take care, guys.
Peace. Bye.
Bye.